be talking about the children's book, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, written by Dr. Seuss. Let's start off with the summary of the book. The Grinch is a bitter and grouchy creature who lives on a steep mountain just north of Whoville, which is home to the Whos. His only companion is his unloved but loyal dog Max. From his cave, the Grinch hears the noisy Christmas festivities that take place in Whoville. Continuously annoyed, he devises a wicked scheme to steal their presents, trees, and food for their Christmas feast. He disguises himself as Santa Claus and forces Max, disguised as a reindeer, to drag his sleigh down the mountain towards Whoville. Once at Whoville, the Grinch slides down the chimney of one house and steals all of the Who's Christmas presents, the Christmas tree, and the log for their fire. However, he is briefly interrupted in his burglary by Cindy Lou, a little Who girl, but lies to her that he's just taking the tree to fix a light on it. After stealing from one house, he does the same thing to all the other houses in the village of Whoville. After spending all night stealing from the houses of Whoville, the Grinch travels back home, intending to dump all of the Christmas stuff into the abyss. As dawn arrives, the Grinch expects people in Whoville to let out bitter and sorrowful cries, but is confused to hear them singing a joyous Christmas song instead. He is puzzled until he has the realization that maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more than just presents and feasting. The Grinch's shrunken heart suddenly grows 3 sizes. The reformed and liberated Grinch returns to the village to give back all of the Who's Christmas stuff and participate in their Christmas feast. So now that you have an idea or a summary of what happened in the book, we can start the analysis. So it may seem as though the Grinch is just a mean old man who wants to take away Christmas simply because he doesn't like it. However, a Freudian analysis of the Grinch would have different interpretations. Firstly, the Grinch has an abnormal hatred towards Christmas, which Freud would hypothesize as being due to some unresolved childhood conflict or trauma. The book never explicitly states the Grinch's reasoning or motivation for hating Christmas time, but a Freudian analysis would say that there are many possible reasons or explanations for the Grinch's behavior. Today we're going to go through different possibilities of how and why the Grinch feels and acts the way he does. The first concept we are going to discuss today is Freud's theory of the mind. Freud divided human consciousness into 3 levels of awareness: the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. These parts can be depicted as an iceberg, as you can see here, with the unconscious also being called the id, the subconscious also called the superego, and the conscious also called the ego. The conscious, or ego level, consists of all the things we are aware of, including things we know about ourselves and our surroundings. So right now, my conscious mind is aware that I am sitting in my room filming a video. The subconscious consists of things we could pay conscious attention to if we so desired, and it's where memories are stored for easy retrieval. Freud saw the subconscious, or the superego, as comprised of thoughts that are unconscious in the particular moment, but they're not repressed and therefore are available for recall and are easily capable of becoming conscious. So an example of something in your subconscious level of awareness would be like a phone number, like knowing your parents' phone number, for example. You're not consciously aware of that, or right now, before I mentioned it, I wasn't aware of that. But if someone asks me, what's your parents' phone number, I can easily retrieve that from my subconscious, bring it to my conscious mind, and then be aware of it in the present. So the unconscious mind, or the id, consists of things that are outside of our conscious awareness. So this includes many memories, thoughts, and urges of which we are not aware. Much of what is stored in the unconscious is thought to be unpleasant or conflicting. For example, sexual impulses that are deemed unacceptable. While these elements are stored out of our awareness, they are nevertheless thought to influence our behavior. Think of the id as the devil on your shoulder and the superego as the angel on your shoulder. We don't want either one to get too strong, so we talk to both of them, hear their perspectives, and then make a decision. The decision is the ego talking, the one that looks for the healthy balance between the superego and the id. Another one of Freud's theories were defense mechanisms, a tactic developed by the ego, or the conscious mind, to protect against anxiety. Defense mechanisms are thought to safeguard the mind against feelings and thoughts that are too difficult for the conscious mind to cope with. The basis for all other defense mechanisms is called repression, which is keeping information out of conscious awareness by pushing them down into the unconscious. However, these memories don't just disappear, they continue to influence our behavior. Now that we know what defense mechanisms are and what the basis for them is, we can discuss other ones that are prevalent in the Grinch book. So at the beginning of the book, the Grinch is driven solely by his id, so the part of the unconscious personality that contains our needs, instincts, and repressed material. The Grinch has an overactive id, which is thought to be made up of innate biological instincts and urges. When the id's drive builds up, it seeks immediate gratification in order to relieve tension. So the Grinch sought to relieve the tension of his id, caused by the Christmas festivities that were going on, which conflict with his feelings of hatred towards Christmas. And he sought to relieve this tension by taking away the physical aspects of the holiday, so the trees, the presents, the food, etc. Freudian analysis of the Grinch would have considered his ego to be doing a horrible job of balancing the id and the superego. It appeared as though the Grinch had no superego whatsoever, or no moral ground to stand on. Therefore, the ego would be consumed by the id, following the I want it now form of thinking. While it is not explicitly stated in the children's book, later recreations of the book as a movie have included things such as the Grinch being bullied as a child, or being in an orphanage and having a rough childhood, all things in his past that could lead to him repressing negative memories of Christmas or holiday time in general. The inclusion of these events in later recreations of the book further proves that the Grinch is suffering from an unresolved childhood conflict, and therefore that is where his feelings of hatred toward Christmas come from. Freud also explained that the ego's job can be so difficult that it has to resort to defense mechanisms. The Grinch exhibited many defense mechanisms throughout the book, but he primarily used projection, displacement, denial, and rationalization. Projection is a defense mechanism that involves taking one's own unacceptable qualities or feelings and ascribing them to other people. Projection works by allowing the expression of the desire or impulse, but in a way that the ego cannot recognize, therefore reducing anxiety. An example of projection in the book is when the Grinch ignored his own feelings of disappointment and misery and put it onto the Who's by predicting they would all cry and be upset when they discovered their Christmas stuff was missing. In reality, the Grinch is the one who is miserable and unhappy about Christmas and projects those feelings onto the Who's. Displacement is a defense mechanism that allows the individual to transfer their negative impulses to a less threatening object or recipient. For the Grinch, it would be hypothesized that he is displacing whatever negative experience he has from his childhood and transferring it to feelings of hatred towards Christmas and the Who's, so he doesn't have to deal with what he was actually upset about, whether that be bullying or having been orphaned or whatever could have happened in his childhood. Denial refers to a defense mechanism where the individual refuses to believe or even perceive painful realities. This is evident since the Grinch never acknowledges any reason or explanation for hating Christmas and the Who's. He does not perceive the reality of the situation or the possibility that there is something deeper causing him to feel this way. Furthermore, rationalization is a defense mechanism that offers self-justifying explanations in place of the real, more threatening, unconscious reasons for one's actions. In the book, the Grinch rationalizes his hatred towards Christmas and the Who's based on his traumatic past experiences, again, whatever they may have been, which stemmed an unconscious hatred for Christmas and led to an aggression towards the holiday as well as the Who's. Instead of confronting and dealing with those negative personal emotions, the Grinch justifies his hatred towards all Christmas festivities and the Who's. However, by the end of the story, the Grinch's perspective on Whoville and Christmas is completely changed. He learns that, despite his success in taking away all the Christmas presents and decorations from the Who's, Christmas comes just the same. He then has the epiphany that Christmas is about more than just gifts and presents. As his heart begins to grow, the Grinch's ego transitions to favor the superego rather than the id. Freud would say that the Grinch gained insight, or became aware of his personal reasons and motivations for his feelings and actions. The Grinch hates Christmas due to his childhood trauma, but is slowly transformed into a lovable character by the true meaning of Christmas. He is shown to develop and grow as a character through many concepts that can be explained through Sigmund Freud's theory of psychoanalysis.